Certainly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you from the studios of RMIT. Yes, we're back in the studio again for what is, unfortunately, a bit of a mixed emotion tonight, because unfortunately, as things stand at the moment, this will be the final edition of In Pit Lane on free-to-air television via Channel 31, unless we get a last-minute reprieve from the federal government. This time next Thursday, when you tune in on C31, what you will see is not us or anything else for that matter. You will see a very slow-moving no signal sign bouncing around your television screen. But thank you to everybody who has supported our campaign to keep Channel 31 on the air. We're not giving up yet. Please, if you haven't done so yet, contact your local Member of Parliament, ring your radio stations, write to your local newspapers, and let them know that you want community television to stay on the air. We're popping off all over the place here, so I don't know whether we're actually on air tonight, but joining me on the set as per usual is Craig Doc Latigo. Doc, welcome.
Hey Brett, hey viewers, great to be back. Hey, the SWAT team that we sent over to the UK work, we've got our desk back.
We've got our.
I was going to say, Top Gear. If you try this son again and steal our desk, we'll send more than the SWAT team. We'll send every kangaroo we've got from Australia. So great to be back. Anyway, back to normal a little bit, just for 1 week. So
just for 1 week. And joining us also on the program this week, we'll be talking to him a little bit later on in the program about the world of production sports car racing here in Victoria, is Dave Stillwell. Dave, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Brett. Great to be back, and again on this unfortunate occasion, but fingers crossed we get that reprieve we've been hoping for.
Fingers crossed. Well, speaking of fingers crossed, everyone had their fingers crossed over the weekend. It was a good weekend if you were the son of an Australian motorcycle champion, that's for sure. Let's find out about all of that and so much more in the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Last weekend was a good one if you were the son of an Aussie motorcycling legend. Ollie Bayliss, son of Troy Bayliss, broke through for his first major win in the Australian Superbike Championships at Darwin's Hidden Valley Raceway. Remy Gardner continued his great run of good form, taking out his third straight win in Moto 2 in Germany. While on four wheels, Jack Doohan had his best ever result with a win in the Formula 3 race at Paul Ricard in France. Max Verstappen and Red Bull played the winning hand at last weekend's French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. Verstappen started from pole but lost the early lead to arch-rival Lewis Hamilton after running wide at turn 1. Red Bull played their masterstroke in the pit lane, first making use of the undercut to get past Hamilton and then surprising Mercedes with a late race second stop. Verstappen then hunted down his prey, passing both Valtteri Bottas and Hamilton to take the win. Hamilton was second, but Bottas was relegated to fourth by Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez. Lando Norris passed Dan Ricciardo late in the race to maintain the pecking order at McLaren, although Danny Rick looked far more at home in this race, outpacing his teammate early in the race. The circuit now rolls on with the Austrian Grand Prix this weekend. Chaz Mostert celebrated his re-signing at Walkinshaw Andretti United with an overall win last weekend at Hidden Valley Raceway in Darwin. Mostert won the opening race of the weekend after a botched pit stop by the Triple Eight team cost Kane van Gisbergen the race lead. The series points leader fought back on Sunday though, winning both races comfortably, but a consistent weekend for Mostert saw him take away the lion's share of points for the weekend. The teams will now make the leisurely trip across the top end to head to Townsville for the next round in 2 weeks' time. A new era in the DTM with New Zealand driver Liam Lawson going into the history books as the first race winner under the new GT3 regulations. Driving his Red Bull Ferrari, Lawson won the first race at Monza, becoming the youngest ever DTM winner and the first Kiwi to win the series. Lawson led home the HRT Mercedes pair of Vincent Albrill and Maximilian Gotts. Things didn't go as well for Lawson in Sunday's second race as he was spun around in a dice with Lamborghini driver Esteban Muth. Calvin van der Linde celebrated his 25th birthday with his maiden DTM victory after his first DTM pole position in the APS Sportsline run Audi R8. In another late race thriller, Alex Balayoc passed Joseph Newgarden with 2 laps remaining to win the latest round of the IndyCar Series at the scenic Road America course and regain the championship lead. Newgarden started from pole and led early until the first caution of the race as NASCAR refugee Jimmy Johnson stopped on course after a spin. Marcus Ericsson also went around to bring out another caution, which sent most of the field into pit lane, causing a major traffic jam on exit. IndyCar debutant Kevin Magnussen led the restart as Graham Rahal and Ryan Hunter-Ray got into a wheel-banging contest. Magnussen's race sadly ended soon after with a mechanical failure, and Ed Jones spun to bring out the final full-course yellow. At the restart, Palau went past Newgarden, who quickly fell back through the pack with mechanical issues, leaving Palau to take his second win of the year, just under 2 seconds clear of Colton Herta, with Australia's Will Power third in his best result of the season. Scott McLaughlin finished 14th.
Yeah, it was amazing. We had a really good car during the race, and yeah, I don't know, HPD did an amazing job because we were able to overtake him before the corner, so super happy, super proud of the Chip Ganassi racing team, and yeah, I can't believe it.
As NASCAR returned to Nashville, the question was, can anybody beat Kyle Larson and end the Hendrick Motorsport juggernaut? The answer was no. Larson led for most of the race and cruised to the first place finish in the Alley 400, winning his third straight NASCAR Cup Series race, the fourth if you count the All-Star race, in a row. He finished the afternoon race having led 264 laps in the 300-lap event. He's back. Marc Marquez is finally back on top of the podium 581 days after his last race win. Marquez went to the front early, holding off the pressure from Miguel Oliveira to take an incredible 11th win in a row at the Saxton Ring. Oliveira pushed hard to try and take the crown from the King of the Ring, with Fabio Quartararo increasing his championship lead in third place. Aussie rider Jack Miller finished 5th. And another new green all-electric racing series debuts with the ETCR. The cars might sound like overworked vacuum cleaners, but they do look good and they're fast.
185, 200, 210 kilometres an hour in about 5 seconds there off the start line.
The cars have around 670 brake horsepower under full boost mode, and organisers claim that they're the fastest accelerating racing touring cars on the planet. Mikel Azcona made history by becoming Pure ETCR's first ever King of the Weekend at the Autodromo Bologna with a win in the Super Final. The series will continue in 3 weeks' time at Motorland Aragon in Spain. And that's the In Pit Lane news for the week commencing Monday, the 21st of June 2021. We will have more news next week. We're going to take a break now on the In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by our special guest, Dave Stillwell, and we're going to be talking sports cars here at the local state level and around Australia. You're watching In Pit Lane for the final time on Channel 31 free to air. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to In Pit Lane. Well, over the past few years, the world of sports car racing has really had a massive revival all around the world. We saw the DTM a little bit earlier. We've got the GT World Challenge, the IMSA North American Sports Car Challenge, the European Le Mans Series, the Asian Le Mans Series. Sports car racing has just really taken off everywhere once again, and that's even flowed down to the local level at the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championship level to talk about the state of production sports car racing here in Victoria and around the rest of Australia. We're joined by Dave Stillwell. Dave, welcome back to In Pit Lane.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Brett. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, tell us about the situation. They're called in Victoria and in the Sports Car Championship, we call them production sports cars. What is actually, just quickly, what is actually eligible?
So, again, thanks to the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships, we have a place for sports cars to race in Victoria. Traditionally, you would have seen things like Datsun 240Zs, Mazda MX-5s, MGBs, and those would have been done to a sort of production sports car regulation. Motorsport Australia, the artist formerly known as CAMS, has a number of sports car regulation sets, both modern and historic. In the Victorian sports cars, we'll have what we call Group 2B and 2F, kind of a very modified and a not so modified sports car, built out of production-based sports cars, so cars that have to have a road legal variant, be it a mass-produced car like a Ford Mustang or a Lotus Elise or a Mazda MX-5, right down to the smaller bespoke cars, Richard Bendell's Daytona Coupe, Daytona Cobra Coupe replica, very small volume cars like the Ginetta G50 that we've seen running in New South Wales before. But what we also have is we talk about the burgeoning sports car, GT sports cars worldwide. Kind of trace it back to sort of 15 years ago. 3 very important rule sets. We've got FIA GT3, which kind of debuted in 2006, and the advent of BOP, kind of balancing cars without going, no, everything runs to this weight and this size restrictor. We've got, rev balancing and aero restrictions and ride heights and, intake restrictors and boost monitoring for turbo cars. We have a smaller version of that in GT4, which is kind of more like what we see in production sports car racing. We've got some of those racing with us at the moment. McLarens. Previously, we've had Audi R8s. The Ginetta G50 has a GT4 version. There's a GT4 version of the new Mustang. We've seen Peter Hackett running around with the Mercedes as well. And of course, we have the full GT3 cars running in the series as well. We don't have FIA GTE, the former GT2 category, running in our cars. Those cars are full professional level cars. We've seen them running in the World Endurance Championship and the European Le Mans Series. Those are very, very high level cars, but we've also seen that rule set. We talk about the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. This year is the last year for GTE cars, and of course it'll become GTD Pro next year.
Well, you just stole a bit of my question then, actually, Dave. Do you think it should be left as status quo where it is now, or is it constantly evolving?
Well, one of the things that, as Production Sports Car Racing Victoria, being the membership organisation that represents a lot of the competitors, it becomes the state race executive wants to go, what do you guys want? So we've seen that this year, and of course we tried 2020 before COVID. We combine what was normally 2 very short races on a Sunday, combine them together in the changeover time to give our competitors a 40-minute race. I think we've seen that in the grid numbers this year. It's really improved. You're starting to see mid-teens, and again we'll probably see over 20 cars at Sandown at the hot dog round, presented by the Australian Sports Sedan Association of Victoria. But what we've also seen is we go, where are the cars coming from that are sports cars that are of a level of performance which is meant to be at state level racing?
Where's the enthusiasm?
Where's the enthusiasm for? We were talking on air beforehand. You couldn't buy a Porsche GT3 road car and spend the money on it to make it as quick as a Porsche GT3 Cup car when you can buy one that comes out of Carrera Cup when it's 3 or 4 years old. Spend, again, everything's relative. It's a bit like Tasmania. You can spend a relatively small amount of money over what the performance level is to get into an factory-built, reliable, maintainable GT3 Cup car for $150,000. And our experience with my father and I, you can sell that car a couple of years later for very close to what you paid for it because the value retention is in it because you can do a lot more things with it.
And that's been the thing. I mean, GT3 has been the big driving force.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, as you say, if you look at the top level, I mean, at the GT World Challenge and the Australian version, you'll see the latest cars coming through, and then they move back into trophy class. But they're now getting to the stage where you've got cars that are still absolute weapons that are now 8 to 10 years old, and basically you just go in and buy them. You don't have to go. It's not like the old days where you go in and build your own car anymore.
Yeah.
You go online and you say, oh yeah, I'll buy an Audi R8, or I'll buy one of the earlier model McLarens, or an earlier model.
And you're going to get bang for buck. You're going to get longevity out of it, aren't you?
Well, one of the things that, particularly Stefan Rotell organisation has been very, very clear about is they want GT3 to be customer racing. The platform does support some level of factory engagement. I think Audi just advertised they've just made 137th or 138th second generation Audi R8, which we think they've now just eclipsed the number of the previous generation chassis that they've built. So the big manufacturers, there's big money in it, but it's a marketing tool, but it's also a customer engagement tool.
Oh, it's a reputation, isn't it?
So the GT3 cars are built to a very high standard, but they're built with very long run times on the components. I think the motorsport director for Bentley once pointed out, they offered a 3-year warranty. I think it was up to 50,000 racing kilometres on their twin-turbo 4-litre V8 engine, which is basically a production engine with a couple of thermal mods and longevity mods, some rings and bearings and things. But it keeps the cars running. And because they build large numbers of them and they have a customer racing support organisation, someone like Audi Sport or Ferrari, Lamborghini, BMW, all of the major GT3 manufacturers, Honda through JAS, they have these customer support organisations. You don't have to carry a huge volume of spares because, you pick up the phone and go, or send an email and go, hey, I need this, 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 and this. You've got a maintenance plan. You know when to replace things. And we see that at a smaller level with the Porsche Carrera Cup cars, and the next level down again with the GT4 cars.
There'd have to be a certain amount of resources put into research and development by these companies
Exactly.
to be able, on a constant day-to-day basis, if they're still churning out, as you said, 137 plus now Audi, second generation Audi R8s. So they're constantly on the evolve, and it's in their best interest as a manufacturer to keep on putting the research and development in, because as you just said, and Brett said, 7 or 8 years they're getting out of these cars now, and they're still, in their prime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane, but when we come back, we're going to be joined once again by Dave, and also we're going to wrap things up here on Channel 31 and let you know what's happening for the future of In Pit Lane and of all your favourite RMITV programs here on C31, and that's when we come back right after this break. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31, and we'll be right back. The show may be over, but the motorsport chat continues with Full Course Yellow, the In Pit Lane after party. We're on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel live most Thursday nights at 9:30, straight after In Pit Lane here on Channel 31. So, why not join us? Yes, I hope that you will join us every Thursday night after the program. Now, I'll let you know that, as of next week when the program isn't on, we might be moving a little bit earlier, but Full Course Yellow will continue to be on Thursday nights, possibly at an earlier time slot. But yes, definitely coming there. You can see live on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, Full Course Yellow at the moment, straight after In Pit Lane, so stay tuned, and that's on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Our guest tonight is somebody who contributed, as you can see there, to Full Course Yellow, a regular contributor, that's Dave Stillwell. And Dave, let's talk about some of the cars we'll see at Sandown in a couple of weeks' time. You were saying that we might be seeing some of the regulars in the National Series as well coming down and having a bit of a run around. Yeah,
well, look, one of the things, if you happen to go to the Vic State Racer website and have a look at the Vic State Circuit Racing Championship regulations, there's Appendix A for sports cars. So in addition to the 2B and 2F prod sports cars and invited, fifth category SA, SB and SC historic sports cars, we also allow in cars that are eligible for, I've got to make sure I get this right, the Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS. Ken, I hope I got that right for you.
Officially, well done, quite
yeah, there we go. But only the trophy class. So the outright, the championship class, the latest and greatest, probably don't need to have those cars there. But cars are eligible for the trophy class. So the second generation Audi R8, but the early version, the 991 Series 1 GT3R. And of course, we will probably see, I reckon, about half a dozen from Troy and Lee at Melbourne Performance Centre. Been great supporters of sports car racing, and of course, they were right there with the Audi Sport program when it kicked off. I think that's now 12 or 13 years ago. A massive facility for them out
Time flies, doesn't it?
In Croydon North, and been massive supporters of the series. I believe we'll have Andrew McPherson and the team from IMAC or AMAC Motorsport coming down. I saw that car doing some testing at Wakefield Park. Looks resplendent. Always great to have sausage, AMAC down in the series. Of course, we'll have our regular band of extras. So we'll have a couple of McLaren 570S GT4s, smattering of multiple generations of 996, 997 and 991 generation Porsche GT3 Cup cars. We'll have Richard Bendel in the Daytona Sports Cars. We'll have the Sin R1.
It's all the cool kids, isn't it?
All the cool kids. There might be a Redfire 2007 Mustang FR500 CS.
Oh, that's still
maybe.
I was going to say, I've seen that. You're tinkering around with that.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to be driving that. And we might have a smattering of Lotuses, Lotuses.
Yes, a plural.
And I hope to see my good friend with his MGB GT V8 monster.
Just backtracking a bit, how's the pony going?
The money goes in the front and noise comes out the back.
That's what
as it should be.
Although interestingly, we did have some of the there were some of the Mark cars running in sports sedans on the weekend. Those run the 5-litre Coyote-based engine, whereas we run a 5-litre modular engine. So sort of the same heritage. But ours is single
600 horsepower
ish,
still-ish, around about?
600-ish.
Give or take a rain or two?
Yeah, ish, 600-ish. I like ish. But I did get some comments from people, while your car might not be as fast as the Mark cars, it certainly sounds quite nice. So And again, you've included in some of your highlight footage on In-Pit Lane in previous editions, so really appreciate that. But that's one of the great things about sports cars, a bit like sports stands, because there's a great plethora of machinery, different drivetrain configurations, be it mid-engine, front engine, rear engine, flat six, turbo, normally aspirated. I'm trying to needle Mike Bailey to get him to pull the Aston Martin V12 Vantage out that is eligible for trophy class in Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS.
I'm sure you've checked the encyclopedia for that one.
Yeah, I said, Mike, call out to you now. There's a 40-minute race on the Sunday. Good practice for the Sandown round of GT World Challenge.
And especially if you
time's ticking to get those entries
especially if you need wet weather practice, because chances are it'll be raining. It always does at that meeting. Hence how attractive the soup and the hot dogs are.
Love a good soup and a hot dog at the hot dog round.
Forget the Bunnings sausage. Get the soup and the hot dog at Sandown.
Yes, very much so. Listen, thanks for coming in and joining us there. So, what off the top of your head, do you realise the date coming up for?
That would be it's normally the weekend after my birthday, so that'll be July the 27th and 28th, somewhere there. Check your local guides, folks.
Check local guides.
VicStateRaceSeries.com. Again, it's on the Googles, it's on the Facebooks, it's on the Instagrams. I'm sure that those of you who are technologically savvy can find it if you use an internet. But again, thanks to all the volunteer officials that help bring those events, particularly.
Which you are at times as well, too. We haven't touched on that tonight.
I do a smattering of things. I actually got bailed up by Grant Rowley and Mark Tinney from Race Fuels for a little bit of spot to camera for the Race Fuels media channel, and then we started working through all the different ways that I'm involved. I think the worst way I'm involved is as a spectator, because I'm a lousy spectator at a circuit. I have to go home and watch it, via all the digestible media channels that we have available.
Well, good luck at the meeting with whatever you're doing, whether it's commentating or
he's an aficionado.
He's an aficionado. He's like Chicken Man. He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
Yeah. I feel like the girl from the old El Paso ad. ¿Por qué no los dos? I'll do both.
It's been great having you. Seriously.
Thanks for having me, Doc. Thanks for having me, Brett.
Okay. Thanks a lot to Dave Stillwell, and thank you to you for watching us at home. Now, as we said, depending on what happens in the next few weeks, we are keeping our fingers crossed. But as things stand at the moment, this will be the final show on Channel 31 free to air. Now, we can't say too much of what is happening in the future, but trust me, there is things going on behind the scenes I'd love to be able to tell you about, but there's some very exciting things happening. The main point out of this is for those people who have been watching and supporting us on In-Pit Lane for the past 25 years, we ain't going nowhere. We will be back here next Tuesday night, live in the studio. Hopefully we'll get our streaming trouble sorted out by then with the new equipment. But we will be here every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock for the next couple of months. We will also be every Thursday with Full Course Yellow as well. Now, coming up as well, we've got something big coming up, and we were going to sort of preview it tonight, but we don't have time really now, called the In-Pit Lane Pit Crew, and we're going to give you details of that over the next few weeks on our social media channels. So, look, if you haven't before, please go to the In-Pit Lane YouTube channel, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, just subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and that way you'll find out what's been happening and what will be happening over the next few weeks and months as we move into the next generation of In-Pit Lane and the future of Australian community television. To everybody from Channel 31 over the years who have put in their time, thank you so much for your support. We really have appreciated over 20 years here on Channel 31, and it is such a tragedy that it is going to end for purely ideological reasons next week. But from all of us here for possibly the final time, let's hope not, but probably the final time here on Channel 31, free to air, from all of us here, it's thanks for joining us and bye for now.